It's easy to do something that's proven to work. And it's easy to get money for it. It's easy to tell your team, it's just like that game, mix with this game, right? Duct tape them together. You got something new, right? But it's a lot harder to say there is a gameplay that's going to make people feel like they're falling in love. It's not there. Yeah, there's nothing you can find reference for. Maybe you can check the novel or watch this television, but you have to come up a new gameplay that's going to make people fall in love. And it would prove to you that it's going to have a big market. It's a lot to prove to people. That's why not many people can start, raise money, bring a team, and stick working on it for 3 to 7 years until they actually catch the big fish.
Welcome to the Gaming Founders Podcast, a show where we interview the founders that have shaped the gaming industry. I'm Eden, the CEO of Pragma. We build tools for studios to connect with their players and essential services, including First Look, our player relationship platform, Connect, and Engine, our cloud and source-based backends that power many of the world's best studios today. If you have an interest in getting exclusive access to the game industry's best early access games, sign up at playtest.firstlook.gg.
And I'm Kevin Zhang, partner at Upfront Ventures. We're a venture capital firm based in LA and San Francisco. I lead game investments both in studios as well as the pick and shovel tools that power game developers and content creators to do their best work, including Pragma. We interview founders on their origin stories, the tactics that help them survive and thrive, and key lessons for anyone interested in building the next generation of leading gaming companies. Learn more and subscribe today at pragma.gg/gamingfounders.
In this conversation, we have Jenova Chen, the founder of That Game Company. He discusses his early influences, the challenges he faced in pursuing a career in animation and game development, and the creation of his groundbreaking games Journey and Sky. Conversation delves into the emotional aspects of game design, the importance of storytelling, and the entrepreneurial journey that he went on. In this conversation, Jenova emphasizes the importance of starting with emotions as the foundation of everything. He highlights the lack of content for games that cater to different audiences like women in his game Sky, and the opportunities that exist in the gaming industry for developers willing to explore uncharted territories. The discussion also touches on the challenges of entrepreneurship in the gaming industry. We only scratched the surface of what we wanted to talk about, so we'll be recording a follow-up with Jenova as a part 2. I hope you enjoyed this episode with Jenova Chen.
I was playing games since I was probably 10 years old. 10 years old, yeah, when I was in third grade. At the time, computer was still just a green screen, monocolor.
Right.
Yeah.
And at the time, my dad, he was in the computer industry as a very pioneer. So he was like managing computers that's the size of a library. And he knew that computers are the future. And when I was young, I was really into drawing. I like painting. And all the teacher told my parents, your child is gifted. He needs to be on a art track, right? And my dad is like, no, artists don't make money. They are going to be starving to death, and nobody in the family is artist. So he's like, come here, learn the computer thing, right? Like, because he see that's the future. And I hated it. I remember I was dragged into the computer class. And then as soon as it got in, I was like, what are these? It's like a pitfall. Oh, it's like a snake, like all these computer games the kids are playing before the class starts. Then I'm like, okay, if I come here early, I can play games. So that's the moment where I'm like put up with the programming class when I was 10. But then the programming was very helpful to allow me to, win awards, battles. So my academic career become much easier because I have this special track nobody else know about, right? I'm basically studying computer 5 years earlier than anyone else. But meanwhile, I still hate computer programming. I like to play games. I like to make art, tell stories. So by the time I went to my college, which certainly I'm majored in computer science, I got into the school, and remember I have four roommates, and three of them, actually two of them, never had owned a computer. Then they're here for computer science department, and the other roommate is my kind of ACM competition buddy. He later actually became the world's champion, but I was like, I'm done. I'm finally in college. I'm free from my parents' influence. I want to learn art. So I go to study like art in the industrial design department. My college doesn't have good art program, so I start to go to attend a different college to study like art, design, and animation. And so by the time I graduate from college, I have 2 degrees. I have the art degree, and also, I mean, I'm barely passing my computer science. Um, so that's where I was at, and I told my parents, I'm like, I'm gonna go. I want to be an artist, but it's too late for me to be a painter because I didn't go through the traditional training. But I realized with my computer skills, I can learn software really fast. I can code. I can write tools for myself to make art, which most artists don't have that background. So that's why I thought computer plus animation would be like the best for me, right? So I applied for the film school at USC, which they have an animation program. That's like how I set my career. Because in China, my parents always think video game is like what we call the porn, pornography, gambling, and drugs, right? The 3 worst thing you don't want to touch. And video games was seen as more like the gambling, the addicting poison for the society. So I wasn't even thinking about video game will be a career. And I thought, oh, animation, filmmaking, you will be seen as an artist and being respected. So I told my parents, hey, I don't want to go to computer PhD. I want to do a MFA in filmmaking. And my dad was like really unhappy about it because, he wanted me to go PhD, be a professor and teach in the university. That's his dream. I think this happens.
By the way,
with
was he still in the computer science? Was he still in the computer industry?
Yeah, he's in the computer industry, but there's this, I don't know, maybe it's a very Asian parents thing. Whatever they didn't achieve, they want their children to achieve, right? And I was just like, okay, I can apply for a computer degree, but I also going to apply for art. And if I got into the art, you cannot stop me from going there, right? So that's basically the situation. So I went to USC. I thought I'm going to graduate and go work at Pixar. That's my dream. But what happened is at USC, it's a 3-year master program. The tuition is very expensive. The entire saving of my parents can only pay for 1 year of tuition. And so I told my parents, like, don't worry, I think I'm good enough. I'm going to get some kind of scholarship, which USC film school never gave scholarship on the first year. I don't know why. So they paid their entire saving, including a house. They sold a house for me to come to the West. So it's a lot of pressure on me because I was like, if I don't graduate, this will be the entire saving of my family, right? I will be a disgrace to the family.
They also didn't want you to do it too.
Yeah, they also
even more pressure.
Yeah, so I have to prove to them that this is the right choice. So I have no place to go back. That's pretty much my life. It's like you don't have a space to go backwards. And while I was in the USC, I was studying film, and there was this new department called interactive media, where they want you to tell a story but using the latest technologies, which I thought was really interesting. Like a school that's built on a medium that's already established over 100 years is open to new technology and storytelling. And so at the interactive media school, they have a video game grant where if you pitch a successful game, you can win a $20,000 grant. And I needed that $20,000 for my tuition because I couldn't afford it. And I need to figure out how am I going to pay the second year and the third year. And so in order to win the grant, it's an innovation grant. So they say, hey, can you make a game that is not like what the mainstream video game was? So 2003 was the year I arrived. That's the year of the Columbine shooting. 2 teenager bring like machine guns and grenades into the school, and they barricade the school, killed lots of people. And so the Congress was like, yeah, GTA. San Andreas was the most popular game at the year. And they were like, this is a crime simulator. These teens, they learned how to kill people, how to shoot guns with the game. So video game was the scapegoat, even though Hollywood film is equally as violent or potentially even more, right? But they targeted video game as the bad influence. Um, and so the school was saying, can you make something that's not Grand Theft Auto? And I was desperate to win the grant, so I really worked hard on making it the opposite of GTA, purely to win the grant. Um, and GTA was violent, so I want to make something that has nothing to do about violence, right? Uh, GTA violence is usually about destroying something that is good and alive. So I was like, can I make a game that's about giving birth or repair or heal something that's been destroyed? So I was like, first, like violence is flipped. Second, GTA is very addicting and stressful. When you have the video game face, you see like the typical photo of a gamer's face, and it's kind of looking very intense and stressful. So I was like, can I do the reverse, which is relaxed and feel, kind of calm and, in harmony. And then the third one is like there's usually some kind of boss, and you earn currency and coins and whatever, and we just get rid of that. So it's about a story of my story from the childhood, and there's no boss, there's no scores. It's just a story you experience, right? And I was trying to make this game, and it's funny, LA. So LA never had clouds. Only until the winter when there's the very few narrow window, there's rain, right? So I was at USC one day, and there was a storm that just passed by the USC, and I went out after the storm is over. I can still see the clouds leaving. So it's this massive cloud front. You rarely see in LA, so you really, when it's there, it's like, wow, this is amazing. This is a beautiful cloud, right? And the sun comes out after the rain. It's just the most beautiful sky I've ever seen after being at Southern California for a couple of years. It's amazing. So I was like, can I make a game that has something to do with these beautiful clouds, right? So that's the initial instinct. Um, and then I pitched the game. It's a peaceful healing game where you get to play with the clouds in the sky, and there is a story of a child, and it's very unique because I wasn't really thinking about art when I first um, came to the U.S. because my undergrad degree was computer science. So I only learned video game making by playing video games. I never think about games as a medium of self-expression or art or storytelling. So when I win the grant, my professor Tracy Fullerton, she, with one word, she changed my life basically. So one sentence changed my life. So I pitched this cloud game to her, more like a simulation game. You imagine SimCity, but you can build storm and hurricanes. You very quickly think about violent events and disasters. And so the my professor said, "So who is the protagonist of your game?" I said, "I don't know. I'm some people who can manipulate weather, right? Maybe a mad scientist or alien from a gas planet or something." And she said, "What if it's a child?" And I was shocked because I would never think that. I'm just barely 20 something. Why would I think about a child? I have no kids. I have no siblings like that age. I would never think about a child. And she said, "Well, just give it a try. What if the protagonist is a child?" So I was like, okay, what can I do? The only child I know the best is myself when I was a child. So I have to basically I created this character based on my childhood, which I was quite sick a lot. I was in the hospital all the time. I have to stay in the class where other kids are out there playing in the playground. So I have a lonely childhood, but I don't know that's special, right? I don't know that's weird because to me it's just how I was grown up. So I made this story about this child who's in the hospital who couldn't go out to play with the other kids, and he look out the window, he see the clouds. He daydream he can fly out the window to be free from his sickness and play with the clouds. And I have asthma, which is quite. I think a lot of kids grow up in Shanghai, which is
Yes.
my hometown, have asthma because there's so much construction and people didn't know about like the pollutions. That everybody's breathing all those things. So I just naturally have this feeling that the city needs to be cleaned. And so the story is about the child eventually bring the clouds together. They form the rain and they wash the city and wash the city clean. Um, and so I worked on it for 9 months because that's where the grant's supposed to deliver, but we didn't finish it. So we keep laboring on that thing for 12 months. And so when the game finally was released, uh, I was so shocked because one day I got an email that says I have to pay a $4,000 fine because my personal website has too much traffic. And so I was like, I don't have any cash to even pay my tuition. How am I going to pay this $4,000 fine? So I go to school and was like, please help me. And this is not my fault. We just put this project up. I could not afford this. Can you pay this? Like, can you also take this out of my personal website? So the school put this game onto the cinema school website, and then the cinema school website is down. And then
Wait, so did you do any kind of promotion, or you just put it out there?
Oh, that was 2004. Like, where is the promotion? And the game was a zip file. It was a zip file. There's no install. It looks very suspicious.
It's just a free game, though. You could just download it.
Yeah, you could download from my personal website, right?
Wow.
And then the school have to call for EAs to put our game on the Electronic Arts commercial FTP server. Oh, I forgot the name of it. Right, that was the old time. And then we see all these newspapers like Sydney Morning Herald or somewhere in London, Japan, people are talking about this game called Cloud, where a lot of people cried playing the game. And so I started to receive these emails from all around the world. And they say, please tell your team and everybody who's worked on this game that you guys are beautiful people. And that was very shocking because my parents would never say I'm a beautiful person. My wife doesn't even say I'm a beautiful person, right? But somehow, like, these people around the world are suddenly say, like, you guys are beautiful people. I was like, what is going on here? Like, I've made some other games in the past. Nobody write letters to me. And then some people said, yeah, please, you should start a commercial company so that the world knows game is not just about violence and fighting, and games can be artistic, can be a positive influence on people. So that's kind of like the moment I was like, whoa, 3 people said I should start a company. I never thought about entrepreneurship. I just always thought that's something somebody has a rich uncle, lots of money, so they can do that. I still have my loans. I still have like my debt, and I never thought about starting up a company. So, but the more letter comes in, I think I had maybe 70, 80 letters, and I start to realize maybe I should give that a try. So when we are in the film school, we were also taught a business class. The teacher was Bing Gordon, and he was teaching us about like how to give pitches, like how to convince other publisher to give you money to make a game. And I was doing pretty good in that class. So I thought maybe I can take what I learned in this class and just start cold calling every publisher in the US. And that's what I did.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Bing is going to be on the podcast next, surprise, like hilariously.
So I went to talk to probably 19 publishers. And I'm pretty much fresh off boat, 2 years in the US, terrible English. And when the publisher tell me, oh yeah, this is interesting, we'll take a look. That's their way to say no. But I was so naive that, oh, they said it's interesting, so they're interested into this game, right? So I was treating that as a positive feedback. So I just keep pitching. I didn't think they didn't like it. It's my naiveness that kept me going. So once I was finally at 18 and 19, I talked to Sony and Nintendo. They suddenly have the interest. And it was really lucky because that was a time when Microsoft rolled out Microsoft Xbox Arcade. Basically the iTunes for games race, right?
Yeah.
So Xbox throws something out a year before PlayStation and Nintendo released their next console. And they have digital distribution, and there was no plan by Sony or Nintendo. Like they have no plan to do anything like this. So John Haidt at the time was leading the digital distribution initiative at Sony, and he's dying looking for something they can publish, because there's only a year left. Like, how are you going to sign up a game and release it in a year? And so that's the time where I went to there. I pitched a cloud game. And I said, look, I need $10 million to build this game, even though I've never built anything. And you can imagine that must be a joke, because even today, if someone come to tell me to ask me for $10 million, I'm like, you don't know what the hell you're talking about. But John Haidt at the time was looking at the cloud. And after cloud is over, I've actually made another game called Flow. Cloud was big. It had maybe worldwide 600,000 downloads, right, as a zip file. Flow had 6 million visits on the website that I made before I graduated. So I have my second game. I think Flow is kind of like Flappy Bird of Flash era, like Flash ActionScript 2. When it first rolled out, we built this game, taking advantage of their feature. So I have Flow rolling. So it's more of my desperate attempt. After I pitched Cloud, I don't see much response. I'm saying, oh, I have another game called Flow. And there's so many people playing that right now, 6 million people. And so I showed them the Flow game. And that's when John Haidt, he started to see something. He said, I'm not sure about this cloud game, but let's sign a contract. So let's port your Flow game from the browser to the PlayStation. Because he sees it's a simple game. They can port it within 4 months to catch the PlayStation 3 launch. And so he signed a 3-game deal, kind of like how, a movie director come out of school, production house just signs 3 movies. So that is basically how I started the company after 19 pitches. We also have Nintendo, by the way. They are also like, oh, Nintendo has a digital distribution as well, right? And then they were saying that we have to move to Seattle because that's where the headquarters is. So we thought, well, maybe we will stay in LA. Just that was our choice as a student. No business background. That's how the company started.
So Jenova, what was the team like at the time? Like, did you have co-founders? Sounds like the school helped you and EA helped you. Was the distribution like? It was all free, right, at the time? Like, what was the state of the quote-unquote company and team?
Yeah, so when we work on cloud, before we work on cloud, we did something. The first year I was at USC, so I came to USC at 2003. I was dying for money. I have 3 jobs, and I couldn't take more jobs because there's F1 visa restrictions. And the summer vacation come, and the library jobs, the TA jobs, they all going to end. So I'm looking for where to make money. And so I run into this student who is about to come into our program. His name is Rick Nelson. And he and I met at GDC. And so we were talking and we were looking at what the other student competition is. And I was like, these are the games that the American students make? I thought everybody's like John Carmack. It's like the nation of the video games. It's genius here. But then I look at all the games, like, this doesn't even look as good as the one I made in college. Right? So Rick also was like, yeah, these are bullshit games. If we just work together, we'll be like in the award-winning video game category. That's basically like when we first started talking about this, but I don't have time to work on this. And Rick was like, we can get school to pay us. And so this is his idea. So we went to school to say, hey, can you pay us the library's money? But we stay here for the whole summer and we just work on a video game engine. We just build a video game engine. We're going to build a game, and this game will win awards. It will give the school a lot of free press, right? And so the school was like, oh, yeah, that's interesting, but it's minimum wage anyway. Maybe we should give it a try, right? So we worked there for a whole summer. We just sleep in the basement there. I think there's four of us. Also, the composer, Vincent Diamante, who's also the year behind us, he later is the composer for Flower, and he was the composer for Cloud. But together we were working on the first game called Diodine. It's a two-player parallel universe co-op game. This is a 2003. It's a very out there idea. And obviously next year we win the student award. We are there, in the GDC, and the school is like, wow, minimum wages, maximum exposure. And now we can say our school can teach games, right? Because you have all these games. So that's how we started. And then the school took the grant from EA. EA donated $8 million for USC. And then they say, okay, let's put out a gaming innovation grant. That's the $20,000 one we win later, because we have the track record of winning the first student awards. So it's pretty safe for the department to give the money to this team, right? But this time we're working on Cloud. The Cloud team is mostly just 5 people. And after Cloud also win many awards in the independent and student game festivals. I was working on Flow mostly by myself with one undergraduate student, just 2 of us. We worked on Flow. But at the end, we need some sound effect. And Vincent he's also working on his dissertation, graduation thesis, so he doesn't have time to help us. And so I was talking to this random folks at the film school, like, do you know any composers that we can get to make some sound and music? He said, yeah, I know this guy, Austin Wintory. He's a student in the composing, because film school have film school composing department. It's a 1-year summer program. So he was there. He was looking for like cheap student films and student project to work on to build his portfolio. So basically it's like $500. Can you make the music for us? And then, so basically Flow is me plus Nick, who's an undergrad student. We're just learning how to write action script too. And then we bring Austin Wintory, who we didn't know is going to be a huge composer in the game industry in the future. It was like, hey, here's $500. Can you make something for us? And then, yeah, that's how we started. So as soon as the Flow project was picked up by Sony, Austin had his first gig with Sony, right? So he's signing up as a professional composer to Sony to make the sound and music. So when we started the company, the co-founder was just myself and my classmate, Kelly Santiago. So she's the producer on Cloud Project. So I looked around. I'm like, who can I start a company with? I don't even have the US visa. Like I should probably go back to China after graduate. How can I start a company? I need to find someone who's American. And so out of everybody in my class, I trust Kelly the most because we worked together on Cloud all the way till the very end. So she and I started the company. Basically, it's just the 2 of us.
What were the reasons why you felt like you trusted her? Was it like she's amazing, or is it the skill sets being different? Like, how do you pick the right co-founder?
So my class have only 9 students, and you learn your classmates pretty fast by working on projects, right? And I had a different classmate as a producer initially on the Cloud project to manage the money and the pay. And later we find out he stole the money.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. And then we kind of have to change the producer in the middle of the production. And so then it was Kelly, and we basically worked together until the very end. So you learn someone's quality by working with them and handing money to them, right? Like see how they manage your money.
Was it hard to convince her to be a co-founder, or was she already thinking about starting something anyway?
No, it was interesting because both she and I were like, oh, we need to find jobs because we're graduating, right? But then all these people are writing to tell us to make a game company. So both Kelly and I were just like, we got nothing to lose. We can go to cold call every head executive from all the different biggest companies to tell them about our game. In the worst case, we can ask for a job.
Yeah.
and so that was kind of like, yeah, let's just go there. It was fun. It was fun time. We got nothing to lose, right?
By the way, how did you come up with your $10 million budget? Like, was that just for Flow? Was that for multiple games?
No, that was just for cloud. And I think what happened with that 10 million budget is I was talking to one of my professors, who used to make some educational games. So I asked him to help me to estimate how much it would cost. And I think that probably somewhere the math is wrong.
And so after you signed the 3 game deal, you eventually went down like the venture path, right? Like you,
right?
What was the progression there?
Yeah, after Journey, we were looking into venture. I have no idea how much money to ask, right? To a venture capitalist, it's different than a publisher. The publisher, you only ask for the money you need to finish the game, but for the venture, I was told you need to ask for more money just in case what if it doesn't work out, right? You don't want to bankrupt the company as soon as you finish making the game. And I think what happened is Sony told us, because we work on Journey, and we are like, hey, where's the money? And Sony, well, you're going to have to first pay all the costs we put in, right? Before you will see any dollar. And said, well, how much does it cost to you guys? Well, they say $4.6 million. I was like, $4.6 million? No, we didn't even pay this much to our own people, right? And it's like there's QA people, localization, all these other people we never know, right? It's the Sony side. So I know, okay, Journey will cost us $4.6 million to make. And when we were raising Series A, we just say, hey, let's make Journey, but let's put it on the phone. Let's touch people's heart with a story game, and Steve Jobs is the CEO of Pixar. If we want to deliver a Pixar-like heartwarming story on the Apple, they will support us. That was very simple because back in 2012, whatever Apple features makes money, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So that was the business plan. It's like make a Pixar-like game on the phone.
Mm-hmm.
And so we thought, well, probably cost us about Journey took us 3 years to figure out. And we thought, well, we can do another Journey fairly quickly. Now we know what to do, right? But then there's also the risk of like, hey, you don't have a controller anymore. How do you do it on a touch screen? So we say, okay, we'll do Journey faster, but we will need another year to figure out the touch interface. So let's put in the same budget. So 4.6 million is what we are started to raise. But eventually the venture capitalists told us that you should probably raise a bit more so that you can keep the company afloat, right? So we raised 5.5 million at Series A.
I know the benchmark Mitch Lasky story is kind of famous, but were there other people involved? Like, did you pitch like a ton of people, or was there a ton of interest, or was it kind of hard?
My fundraising story is I'm seeing a pattern. I don't know if it's the same as your patterns, but I will be talking to someone for a very long time, and it's just dragged out and dragged out. It just doesn't. It's gonna work. It doesn't work, and it drags out for a year. And last minute, someone else come in and just take over.
Yeah. I actually agree with that a lot.
It's like the person who drags it out, they are probably not a full believer and they're still calculating. Yeah. They want to squeeze out the benefits and it's just not working well. And for a long time, you don't have a second option, so you just keep going. But then the moment someone sees the value, they're like, I'm committed. Let's sign the deal tomorrow.
You guys have had so many successes, and I want to try to understand what is like sort of the key starting point or the key crucial point of the game making process? Because it feels like you often start with like an emotion or some kind of like, I want to evoke a certain thing. And then a lot is built around that. Like, I guess, how do you come up with your ideas and say, let's build a world around this particular thing?
Yeah, I think I mean, TGC is almost 18, maybe 19 years at this point. I've always been saying the same thing. Anywhere I go, any people I told them about how I think about it, they were like, I've never heard of anybody thinking about games like this, even till today. So I was like, maybe I'm just not doing enough of propaganda. But basically, the perspective is very simple because I went to the film school. The film school teaches me to look at entertainment as an emotional business, right? Like, if you go to a liquor store looking for something to drink, there's so many different brands, but you have different cravings, right? The same person can have different craving for different tastes. And it's the same thing for entertainment. And it's ultimately, entertainment is really kind of divided by emotions. If you look at all the genres of books, televisions, movies, if you think about the name of the genre, like horror, right? Thriller, uh, comedy, romance, it's all about how it makes you feel, right? And so if I'm lonely, I want to feel friendship. There's sitcoms, right? There's drama, feel good dramas, right? Like there's all these subgenres about different type of emotions based on the mood you're in, based on the demographics, you will have different craving. My favorite example would be in Japan, Dragon Ball Z, right, or Naruto. Like these are called shonen manga, right? So young boys, young men, young boys manga, right? And if you look at all shonen manga, it always follows a very similar emotional trajectory, which is I'm a pathetic middle school student who's been bullied in school, has nothing. And one day I picked up something like a Death Note, or I suddenly learned a special power. I'm a superhero now, right? Suddenly I have all the freedom and the power to change the world. And the biggest way to change the world is to save the world, right? Or destroy the world. So that's the shouting manga. And you were like, why is it all the young men likes to watch this type of manga, but the young women don't? Right? The shoujo manga has completely different plot. And so I start to notice as I age older and older, I don't really care to look at shoujo manga anymore. Right. So you can kind of trace that men and women at different age have different emotional craving. Another thing that's very popular, and you can even trace the age of video games, is that young boys love horror. And I remember that time when I was young, Doom was invented, right? Every kid in the library is talking about this game. And it's so scary to play Doom or Wolfenstein 3D, right? It's scary to play it, but you kind of want to just play again. And you want to see your buddy play it. You want to see them getting scared. And that's that same thing, that instinct of that generation of teenager kids, particularly boy, who love to be scared. They all bought Doom. It's the first platinum success game ever in history, right? So at that particular era, it proves there's at least 1 million people who wants to play games, and they're all teenager boys. They want to have to be scared. But a couple of years later, those teenagers all went to high school. Everybody's picking up their sports. So in Europe, people like soccer. So FIFA was huge. In the US, it's the Madden football, right? And Madden is huge, right? They are platinum success. And then the teenager finished high school, they go to college, and now they are adult. So what does adult man want emotionally? Is I am a warrior now. I'm a man. I'm a warrior. I'm the hero. And so warrior simulator, whether it's Call of Duty, Modern Warfare, Battlefield, Medal of Honor, everything is about warrior simulator. Whether it's using the swords or the guns, it's the emotional needs to be a man. And so you can see like our generation is pampered really, really well. All the AAA success game is basically aged up as we age up, right? And then once you finally become an adult, you run your own company or you work in a big company, you make money, you have freedom. You don't need to be a man or warrior anymore. At that point, what does grown-up man thinking, like 30-year-old man, what do they think? What do they need? They get into this settled statement, this moment of kind of, comfortableness, right? Job is comfortable. I can do anything I want, but then what do I really want to do? What is my role with the society? So there's a particular genre called sci-fi. Sci-fi is basically adult parables of the society. Like they use something that's very imaginary to be a metaphor of how the real world works. So sci-fi becomes very interesting to older men. And there's also action, still the warrior simulator, and there's adventure, right? Because man, you want to go to see the world. So if you mix action, adventure, and sci-fi together, you get Halo, you get Mass Effect, you get Destiny. That's basically again, my generation, your generation, we just keep getting what we need emotionally. But meanwhile, this whole tech tree of what male like as they aged up, with female, it's almost empty. If you think about what does young girl like? Papa Pig today, My Little Pony, right? Was there a My Little Pony video game back then? I don't remember so, right? What was big among young girls as we grow up? Tamagotchi, right? It's kind of like a close resemblance of like, hey, having my pet. And then there was one game that's dominated the female gaming market for a decade. It's called Sims. And guess what Sims is? Sims is social game today. Back then, when there's no internet, it's simulating the social interactions. Mm-hmm. So it's a single player social simulator. And no wonder it's going to be very successful among female, right? And there's no competitions. But besides the Sims games and some Diner Dash, match 3 games, there wasn't much emotion in video games that is truly in the female taste buds. If you look at movies, the most successful female genre is romance, right? And the feeling of being loved, being cared. What is a video game? No, that didn't exist until recently, right? And there was dating simulator for men, and it's very much more about how much you're wearing, how much is the girl wearing, and that's for men, right? But for women, there was no interactive entertainment for the emotion they need. And so for a very long time, I was like, why isn't the society respecting video game as an art form? Well, because most people think video game is not for them because there is no emotional content that they like that could be found in games. So romance is pretty extreme. We as men probably don't care about romantic film. Like I don't know any man who would go to see a romantic film by themselves. But then next to romantic romance, there's rom-com, romantic comedy, and funny things, right? And then I don't think there was any romantic comedy games in the history of video games. Maybe It Takes Two is rom-com. I don't even think it's that. No.
Yeah.
There's no rom-com.
Really, yeah.
And then what other things does women like? Well, sitcoms, social sitcoms, right? Just reality shows. It's about social dynamics. Sims, that was there. All the Facebook games. And now there was one genre in the film industry that female really liked. It's called musical. But in Hollywood, musical is falling out of favor. There's many other reasons. But if you think about in the entire video game industry, Guitar Hero, Rock Band, Dance Dance Revolution is the equivalent to me the musicals. You see girls play that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so those are the games that women are emotionally interested in. They are not interested in God of War, right? They are not interested in chopping people the head off with, kill 2,000 people on the way and see all the guts and blood popping out. So that's why games on console are predominantly men playing. Emotionally, that's just why, And so because I studied film and I learned how emotion works with, market and demand, I'm like, if video game don't offer those emotional content, it will never be respected by the female audience. Not to mention even the elderly audience, right? Because the older people, they don't like to see comedy anymore. They like to see drama. They like to see documentaries. They want to see things that bring them, perspective.
So you're actually starting with the audience first before and then you're saying, okay, where is there a gap? And then you're tying, okay, what is the emotional tree that ties to that?
Yeah, what's the content? Right? But then it's like nobody made a romantic comedy. How am I supposed to make people both feel in love and also laugh with interactions? Nobody has ever made that. So my entire career is like trying to make something that's being made in traditional medium, but nobody has ever made in interactive medium. And so then we'll have to figure out how to do that in a new media. So Journey is actually an adventure genre plus drama. It's a person's transformation, right? With a little bit suspense, a little bit scared, right? But that's Journey, and it was doing really well with the judges, the award judges, because adventure, older male, drama, older people, and thriller, the scare of unknown is also older men. So older men like Journey, and they give us the award votes. So it's just really about who are you making the emotional content for.
And I've had this conversation with you the last time we talked. I'm sure you don't remember this, but people are scared of the games industry right now because they're kind of like, hey, whatever, 80%, 90% of the market's playing these existing games, and you're competing for smaller and smaller amounts of sort of gamer supply. And I remember your sort of take was that there's still so much opportunity in the games industry because there's all these areas that are completely unaddressed.
40% of the emotional spectrum was not covered.
Yeah. I guess I have a question on sort of just generally speaking, what you think about the games industry right now. I mean, I'm sure you're seeing obviously all the layoffs and all of that. And is it just that founders and people are not, they need to shift their perspective on maybe not just trying to replicate Call of Duty or whatever it might be, but they're just approaching it the wrong way?
Okay, I think the world has a bell curve, right? Most of the people are in the middle. They like to follow each other. I mean, we are a social animal, right? So lots of us, if you see other people do this successful, you want to do the same, right? You want to repeat what is giving you as a positive signal. But the bell curve on what the other end is the explorer. They wouldn't do the same thing as the rest of them. But I think it's easy to do something that's proven to work, right? And it's easy to get money for it. It's easy to tell your team, just like that game, mix with this game, right? Duct tape them together. You got something new, right? But it's a lot harder to say there is a gameplay that's going to make people feel like they're falling in love. It's not there. Yeah, there's nothing you can find reference for. Maybe you can check the novel or watch this television, but you have to come up a new gameplay that's going to make people fall in love. And it would prove to you that it's going to have a big market. It's a lot to prove to people, right? That's why not many people can raise money, bring a team, and stick working on it for 3 to 7 years until they actually catch the big fish. It's just harder. And so only those people who really see it, they're committed to it, and they didn't run out of money before they made the game, they can actually get there. But as soon as they land, like Minecraft or, like Don't Starve, these indie games that once they land on this new proven commercial success, a swarm of people will follow. look at Power World, look at Black Myth Goku. You're gonna see like 5 games like that next year, right? So it's hard to invent something. It's much easier to quick follow.
Yeah, I guess even in the fundraising journey, I wonder if it's like, like you can't really raise money as a game studio right now, or I guess you never really could, but you could for a couple of years during like 2020 and 2021.
Yeah,
But
that's quick follow money. It's quick follow. It's,
yeah,
all these
it
games
was.
are making so much money. Maybe we should invest in there, right? And now also within the investment industry, I think like big pharma, like medical industry, it's kind of like the hardcore mode. It's like we have a new drug that's going to take 10 years to develop, right? Are you in or not? It's a big, much higher risk than something you can make a company and sell it in 2 years, right? That's easier.
Well, okay, so we have a lightning round, which I know is going to not be lightning because you always have awesome responses. So maybe we'll do that, and then our cornerstone question, and then we'll find another time. All right. So first question in the lightning round: what kind of media, generally speaking, have you consumed recently that you like?
I mostly watch these days. I don't play as much. I watch a lot of YouTube, actually. Just YouTube. I can't admit. I mean, as a film student, I usually like big presentations. Maybe as I get older, and also as the pacing grow faster, I like to learn. So I watch a lot of like documentary or uh, subject matter like YouTube channel hosts.
Yeah.
So I spend a lot of time looking into archaeology,
Okay,
and
yeah.
trying to discover why they made pyramids and what is the reason behind Sphinx. That's like my current interest. And some of the creators who were doing analysis and research was amazing. They haven't been proven by mainstream scientists yet, but I really believe in certain series. If you're interested about where we came from, that's a big subject I really have passion about.
Is there a channel you would actually
Yeah, I was
recommend?
gonna
A
ask
channel
the
or two?
Quite a lot, but quite a lot. But I like those obscure ones, the ones that doesn't have like millions of followers, but their idea actually makes a tons of sense. So it's like before people even discovered it.
Mm.
I'm pretty sure you've heard of like the whole Eyes of Sahara, Jimmy Corsini on Joe Rogan. I knew about his stuff like 2 years before he was on Joe Rogan, right? So I know all these things ahead of anybody. It was really exciting to know all these knowledge that nobody knows, right? Anyway,
Right. Oh.
that's what I really valued.
Got it. I mean, you say you don't play much anymore. Do you have a favorite game, over the last couple of years, or other than something you made?
Yeah, consistently, I've been telling people I did really enjoy the whole Dark Souls series, and I know they've made Elden Rings and other things, but the whole genre was actually the one genre I really liked. Even though our game is not violent, but I felt like if Dark Souls doesn't have violence, it would be very much like our game.
Is there a dream IP that you would work with?
I've been pretty open about that. I wanted to turn some of Hayao Miyazaki's world into video game.
Yeah.
And he is known for hating video games or AI or computer generated images. He hates a lot of things. So nobody got any of the IP he owns right now. But I hope one day we can do that.
By the way, do you know if he's ever tried any of your games, or like
No,
did you ever? No.
no. I mean, you know Roger Ebert, right? Roger Ebert is the most influential film critic, and he made a criticism about video game can never be art. So we actually sent him a PlayStation with Flower installed on it,
Uh-huh.
but he passed away before he admit anything new. So, but yeah, I think once you reach certain age, you won't change your mind.
Right. Have you tried to make contact with them? Or like
I did many times.
That's awesome. Oh, that would be amazing. Oh man, if I knew Miyazaki, I would try to help you make that happen, but I don't.
Yeah, please, anybody who knows, yeah, I would need a connection.
What about productivity hack?
Productivity. I don't know what is hack. I mean, I don't have lunchtime because I'm all remote. So my lunch is right here. That saved me
Fasting.
the one
It's a
time.
productivity hack.
Yeah.
What about on the other end, like best way for you to relax?
That's funny because I could literally go down any moment and sleep because I'm already lack of sleep. So anytime I'm down, I'm sleeping. I don't know. I mean, as an introvert, best way to relax is just to stay alone and recharge. Play some video games, watch some films. Yeah.
Biggest lesson from a mentor.
Which lesson is, I mean, I felt like the biggest lesson is usually something you experienced it that deeply burned into your mind. So it's usually not like a mentor says something and you just remember that. That's why it didn't come up right away. I mean, I did learn many things from the mentors, but sometimes I question if what they taught me apply to all situations.
Right.
And it certainly applied to the situation they were in, but does that apply to the situation I'm in right now? I'm always kind of reevaluating that. But I think with what I said earlier about my professor, Tracy Fullerton,
Mm-hmm.
it's like, what if the protagonist is a boy, right? Like,
Right.
I would never think about. And the fact I had to make a game about my own childhood, it was the first time I practiced self-expression.
Mm.
And that's the moment I realized that's the moment where art is happening because I'm trying to communicate an emotion that I remembered strongly. And if someone else felt it and they're touched by it, then it's art. Yeah. And if I would continue to make mad scientists or gas planet aliens, nobody would be touched because it has nothing to do with art.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a beautiful one. And then we always ask this question: if you could go back to the founding of your company and give yourself a piece of advice, what would it be?
Entrepreneurship is the worst path forward. And most people have to choose it because there's no other way. And just remember, in this path, you will be hurt and by others, and the other people who hurt you, you might think they are enemies, but ultimately they're all friends. And your life wouldn't be exciting if it doesn't have, some challenges,
Yeah.
and some enemies. And just don't take it to the heart. Everybody is here. They are your friends.
That's a beautiful one. We never had that one. I like it. Yeah.
All right.
Well, we'll have to cover like scaling, live opsing, China, growing, struggles, all that stuff. We missed a lot.
Yeah, multi-game. Yeah, all
Yeah,
that.
well, yeah,
There's a
That's
lot
what
coming
you're missing
stuff.
for 19 years of entrepreneurship, right? That can't be covered in an hour. So
yeah, exactly. We got a lot more to cover. I will find another time, and we will definitely do a follow. Thank you so much for your time, Jenova. It was very great to dive deep on the topics that we did.
cool. It was fun talking about this. Usually people don't ask me this, Players don't ask, the co-workers don't ask, so I'm glad to talk about these.